Let's jump back to the early 2000s. I'm still in elementary school. I'm being bullied all the time for being an absolute nerd. My parents had just gotten divorced, and I'm now jumping from house to house, not knowing where I'm going to be on the weekend. So many things were in flux, and so much was able to change, but there was one constant. And that was that I knew both my parents loved me, and not seeing my dad as much, I valued the time that I spent with my father more than anything. I sat down one day with him to play video games as we always had. It was our thing. It was something nobody else got then. Because, yeah, people played Xbox. Yeah, people played PlayStation. People had PS Vitas and DS's. But nobody else played Stalker. Nobody else knew what it was. I sat down one day with my father, and he showed this game to me, and it became our thing. It became the thing that whenever I went over to my dad's house on Wednesday or on the weekends, I looked forward to playing this game with him. I looked forward to learning just a little bit more about the Chernobyl disaster that the game was set in. I didn't know until years later that Chernobyl was a real thing, and I didn't know that it was such a tragedy. As I grew up, I grew a bigger respect for these games, and it came to my attention that there weren't any games out there really quite like it. I had tried Fallout New Vegas, as well as a couple of other Fallout games, but they didn't have that feeling of dread and horror that Stalker did. Next thing I know, I find out that the company that made Stalker is going under, GSC World. To make a long story short, GSC World had spent most of the money that they had accrued over their time developing Stalker, and had multiple revisions of the game, one of which was entirely complete, but allowed the AI to finish the game before the player could. Well, when doing player testing, that wasn't very popular, so they decided to redo the game from scratch again, costing more and more money each time they did it. It was a big hit when it came out, and so was the next one, and the next one, but over time, they faded into obscurity. Fast forward to a long while later, 2020, and I'm sitting in bed with my girlfriend, and I see that there's a trailer for a game called Stalker 2. I'm in disbelief almost, and I open it up to find out that it is a trailer for Stalker 2. That GSC was back, and they were making another game in the series. Now, they'd done other games before. The original game being Shadows of Chernobyl, they made 2 follow-ups, Call of Pripyat and Clear Skies. Clear Skies being a prequel, and Call of Pripyat being totally unrelated to the main game, following a military man on a separate mission.
Good hunting.
That didn't mean these were bad. They were more Stalker, and they were very entertaining. But they'd been out for a long time. I waited in anticipation. And waited. And waited. Until June 13th rolled around. And the gameplay trailer for Stalker 2 was released. This gameplay trailer looked as if they'd taken my beloved game from my childhood and updated it and brought it to my adulthood. My anticipation for this game is immense, and still is. But there's something that's worrying me, and I have to bring it up. Let's go back again to the early 2000s. A game came out that was like no other that anyone had ever seen before. You had your World War games, your Medal of Honor, your early Call of Duties, but specifically one game that came out that would change my life personally, forever. A game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And it may sound very silly that a game could forever change my life, but this was more than just a game to me. This was the game that I would go in and sit down to play with my father as he messed with the settings on his computer at the time to attempt to get it to run on his TV in my parents' bedroom. Every minute that I had, just me and my dad playing games, I cherished, because nobody else got us. My sisters, they'd come in and try and understand it. My mother pretty much had a disdain for it, but none of that mattered, because this is what me and my dad did together. And throughout the nights after we had played, I would start to hear what would soon change my life forever. One day, my father sat down with us with tears in his eyes and told us that he was going to be leaving for a little while. And I remember sitting on the steps of my parents' bedroom, my mother and father telling us how they were going to be getting divorced. And I remember feeling so angry, so betrayed by my parents. And that one thing that me and my dad had, he was going to leave, and I was never going to see him again. And they asked if I felt angry, if I felt any of these things, and I had no words, because I felt that this thing that had happened to so many of my friends at school, there's no way it could happen to me. My parents love each other. Well, the day finally came when my dad had to leave, and when he did, I'd noticed that he left his computer. And the cabinet that his computer sat in stayed closed until a couple of days after he had left. He came and he asked me to watch over his computer for him. And I, of course, said I would. That wasn't a problem at all. I loved my dad, and if he needed me to do anything for him, I would. He also sat down and showed me how to boot up Modern Warfare from Steam. He showed me the controls and said I could even readjust his gamepad if I needed to, which I never did. I always stuck with the keyboard. But the thing that stuck with me throughout the rest of my life was he said that, unlike the other games that I'd played with him, he wasn't going to be able to help me through this one. That this game I was going to have to play through myself. And I did. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare was the very first game I ever beat without my father's help. And I remember feeling so accomplished the day that I did, but so sad because I had to wait until the next weekend to tell him about it. He was proud of me for what I did and started teaching me how to play Modern Warfare's multiplayer, being very careful with letting me in the voice chats of that time, as everybody was a bit stupid back then. As I grew up, I came to love Modern Warfare, and to this day it is still one of my favorite first-person shooters. I play the campaign at least once a year. And next thing I know, a trailer comes out for Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I had fallen off the bandwagon for Modern Warfare a good bit. A lot of the kids that grew up with Modern Warfare 2, I didn't play with them because, well, by that time, me and my father were playing Stalker, and over the years, I had gotten back into Modern Warfare. I'd played through the main campaigns of all the original games and come to love their really cheesy action movie stories. I'd fallen in love with the characters Captain Price, Soap McTavish, Yuri, Makarov, all of them. But most importantly, I held these characters near and dear to my heart, almost as if they were childhood friends. And when the trailer for Modern Warfare 2019 came out, I was surprised. I was excited, but cautiously so. as I didn't want them to ruin what was my childhood. The time rolls around and Modern Warfare 2019 comes out. I watched somebody do a playthrough of the campaign and had originally started with rose-colored glasses, seeing what I wanted to see, seeing that, oh, they changed this, they changed that. They added this new character, Alex. Who's he? What does that mean? What the heck? You mean that's Gaz? Why did they change him so much from the original? But that wasn't the point. This was their take on Modern Warfare, and after playing through it multiple times since then, I've come to admire it just as much as I admire the original, because there are small little moments throughout the campaign that show that they care about the original game. The edition of Modern Warfare that I bought came with specialty guns that had Easter eggs to the original game, an MP5 that instead of on the selector switch it's saying semi, full auto, or burst, it would say let's do this. A classic catchphrase from the SAS in the original game. A shotgun that said on the back in tape for close encounters, a reference to this famous scene from the original game.
I like to keep this for close encounters. Too right, mate. On my mark, go.
They showed that not only did they care for the original game, they wanted to pay homage and make a new classic game. Multiplayer came out, and once again I was worried. Modern Warfare's original multiplayer was just right. It didn't have too much of anything. Modern Warfare 2, there was way too many noob tubes, and Modern Warfare 3 just felt too generic to me when I eventually played it. But Modern Warfare 2019 had the perfect gunplay. It felt realistic. It felt hard, and I enjoyed it. A little while later, they added in a store, and this store would have the ability for you to purchase skins for both your characters and weapons, as well as new emotes, new calling cards, and new emblems, all of which were completely harmless to the base game. And as the game continued, they added in new weapons to the game. Not ones that you had to pay for with DLC like they had done in Ghosts in the past, but entirely free to the player as long as you unlocked them. And even if you went and bought the skin for the weapon, yeah, you now had the weapon, but you still had to unlock it. This game was balanced in a way that I didn't expect it to, as I expected it to be a quick cash grab. And this game earned my respect. But going back to the early 2000s and comparing early Stalker to early Modern Warfare, and that game was different than Stalker, considerably so. And the whole reason that I'm making this video is because I'm worried. If we go onto the Steam page now, you'll see that you can pre-order the game. And within the bonuses for pre-ordering the game, you get an extended campfire content. This is what worries me, as I feel as if they're going to take Stalker and turn it into a cash grab from the beginning, not worrying about the more open world game that it was meant to be. You can now get an early bird weapon skin, costume skin, and multiplayer badge. But that raises a red flag to me immediately. The original Stalker games didn't have multiplayer. That was something that was always shocking to me as a kid, that these games didn't have multiplayer. But they didn't need it because of the type of story that it was telling. And to see that this game will have multiplayer worries me. Now, it could be multiplayer in the sense that it is entirely disconnected from the main story, but if they decide to focus on that multiplayer instead of the story is going to suffer, and that is the reason I played this game. That is what cemented this game in my mind. A creepy, atmospheric game set in a nuclear disaster. That's what this game is meant to be. And to see that it has multiplayer is a bit concerning. I'm not saying that that's going to condemn this game, that it's going to be the end of it. I'm just saying that I'm worried for the multiplayer. The other thing that raises a red flag to me is the weapon and costume skins. In Stalker, in the original game, if you equipped a different piece of armor, it changed the way you looked. But it didn't just change the way you looked, it changed the way the NPCs or non-player characters throughout the game looked. It changed them so that you could at a glance realize, oh, hold on, that guy is wearing an exosuit. I'm gonna go ahead and not mess with him because he would kick my ass since I'm wearing a coat with a bit of plate metal on it. It was an easy way to recognize it. If they decide to add in these costume skins, well, now I can go out and wear the stupidest stuff I can find, but if I have a costume skin on, then what's the point of getting all this cool armor that looks so different and neat? And now I can just put a costume over it no matter how it looks. Again, if this is just something that they add into a game and a few people enjoy it, then I'm not going to have an issue with it. But I don't want to boot up Stalker 2 and every 10 seconds, hey, do you want to buy our new skins? You can go check them out in the store. Really, I mean it. You can go check them out. Please go check out the store. Seriously, please. I don't want this game to become a shell of its former self, just meant to sell whatever they can out of it. And that's the other thing that worries me. When you bought Stalker, you were buying the entire game, the entire experience for one price. You bought it, and that was it. When you bought Modern Warfare, you were buying the entire game in the sense of the campaign, and that was it. If we go further down on the store page here, you'll see that buying the next edition up actually allows you to get an additional story-based side quest, along with a couple more skins, both for single player and multiplayer. This worries me. If this additional story-based side quest is, as you say, story-based, why are you not just including it in the game? Why on earth are you splitting it off to this special edition of Stalker that you have to buy in order to get all the content? If I went and I bought Stalker Shadows of Chernobyl back when it came out, it came with all the content included. I didn't have to pay for specific side quests or certain parts of the game. It was all right there for me to play. But that's not where this ends. If we scroll even further to the Ultimate Edition, we'll see that it also includes a season pass with access to all future DLCs, including 2 story expansions. On one hand, this makes me excited. We're going to have the base game of Stalker with 2 additional story expansions, but at the same time, are they going to try and take Stalker and drag it out as much as they can? Are they going to take this beloved game from my childhood, which was all wrapped up neatly with a bow and completely finished, in the sense of story that is, and stretch out its new story to fit multiple expansions? The addition of the Season Pass, that doesn't worry me as much because the Season Pass could just have a multiplayer aspect to it. And if the multiplayer surprises me the way it did in 2019, then I'll be okay with the multiplayer being there. But I don't like the fact that there's going to be 2 more story expansions. Why not just include those in the base game for free? Nevertheless, hindsight is 2020, and when the game comes out, hopefully I'll change my tune. I'll say that it's the best game I've ever played in my life, and I am happy to get more Stalker coming soon. GSC World was a developer that I always looked out for when it came to new games. And now that this one is finally coming out, I feel comfortable giving them my money. And I will be pre-ordering this game, and I will be playing it day 1 as soon as it comes out. But that doesn't make me any less concerned for what it could become. Hey guys, thanks for watching my short little tangent that I had about the new Stalker game that's coming out. I'm going to be doing a full playthrough and uploading it here, just in the vein of Seamus from The Creatures did. I'm going to not edit it, and it's going to be for those people that haven't played the game. It's going to be for those people that haven't played the game and just are looking through a quick walkthrough of it before the new one comes out. As always, I appreciate your viewing, and sorry if this story got a little emotional. I'll see you in the next one, if that, ever gets uploaded.